We have 3 dogs. We have a beagle who we've had for, 8 years? And then we have Max that we got 2 years ago. Got him from a breeder. And then a year ago this past May, basically May 2012, my wife, my beautiful wife, was coming home from work and almost a dog ran out in front of her. It was a chocolate lab. And she brought him home, and basically we've had him ever since. You get attached to him to a certain degree, and you could see there was a lot of potential there, but also he had a lot of behavioral issues. One of the biggest concerns that we had was the cats. We have 3 cats, and loved chasing the cats. I mean, he would just go crazy when he saw a cat, and we don't know anything about his background, nothing. And we didn't know if he wasn't going to be aggressive. Was he going to try to hurt a cat? I mean, I've heard of dogs killing cats, and he's certainly physically capable of doing it. And we basically had to keep the cats pinned up in our room to keep them separate, just because we wanted to prevent any accidents. Because again, we were basically going to try to hold on to them for a little while and work things out with the lab rescue, and we didn't know if we were actually going to keep him or eventually turn him over to them. Then as the months went by, you get attached to him. He was constantly barking in the cage. I guess I forgot about that when we were talking about behavior issues. We put him in his crates, they're crates. We do all 3 of our dogs. When we're not here, they go in their crates. And he would just bark and bark and bark and bark and just drive us nuts. And 5:30 in the morning, we would get up for work, and or sometimes I would actually be sleeping still, and the dog would just go off and wake up the entire house. He just would not stop. And it was getting to the point where we had thought about keeping him. We had looked at training classes here, there, and everywhere, and it is getting to the point where we're seriously thinking about calling up the lab rescue and saying, we tried to keep him, but we tried our best, but we just can't do it. And I got up on your website, and the control over the shepherds, the dogs in the video, just blew me away. And being familiar with the area, where you were filming, I know that that's a very, very busy roadway, and cars come flying through there. And the fact that you had those dogs, and they were right there in your front yard without any leash, and it at first freaked me out, but then I realized these dogs aren't going anywhere. They are totally in tune with him. They're not going to run off. And then I was like, we need to call this guy. I read about your background and your training experience, and I'm like, we need to call this guy and see what's up. And you came and you did the consultation. And we actually had one of the cats downstairs, the Siamese that he likes to chase the most, because that's the one that'll run, Oliver. Oliver would run, and Coco would be right after him. And he was ignoring the cat. He wasn't trying to eat the cat. He was ignoring it. He was behaving in just, a couple hours. And we were blown away, flat out. And I was like, we've got to do this. We have to do it, because it's either that or the dog's going to have to go. And that was very, very early into the training. And just seeing how well that worked, it made it really easy for us to follow, because we wanted to continue on with that success and build on it.
When I first used to walk both the dogs at once, they would pull and it would hurt my shoulders. And as we started progressing through the training, they pull less and less. They actually walk right beside me at whatever speed I'm going. If I'm running or I'm walking, they'll stop when I stop or sit. It's a lot more enjoyable now.
We can walk the dogs around the neighborhood without a leash at all, and they will stay right there by our side. They may pay attention to some things. They may see a squirrel. They may see another dog, but they don't go anywhere. They stay right there with you, and they walk. And it's actually very relaxing, to walk around the neighborhood and not have to hold on to the leash, and they stay right there with you. If you stop and turn around, they'll turn around and walk with you. You can actually go out in the front yard I can walk out, we can sit on the patio and drink a cup of coffee or whatever, and the dogs will sit out there on the patio with us, and we're not crazy worried about the dogs running off, because we live right off of Chambersburg Road, or a very busy street, and, you know, me to let them out without a leash is just shows how much confidence I have in the training, because I would never let them off. I'd be scared to death that they'd run up around behind the house and get hit by a car. Plain and simple. Yeah, we can tell them to sit, lie down, and walk away from them, and they're not going to get up until you release them. You give them another command. And you watch the video, and we actually go inside the store for just a few seconds, and that's that's the first time we ever did that. You know, we'd never done that before ever, and they did so well. And if we did it even more, you know, as far as, you know, more practice, because the more you practice with them and do training, the better they're going to be at it. Period. But no, that was a really good day. Outstanding Canine has changed our lives. It's basically saved Coco from being taken to the lab rescue, because we were having with Coco made it so we're going to keep him. He's ours. You know, we love him to death, and he's got a very sweet personality, and he listens, and he's reacted so well to the training. You know, the barking in the cage he'll bark a little bit every now and then, but just at appropriate times. It's not the constant. I couldn't even sit at the computer without him barking and barking and barking. And now, like last night, we were doing stuff in the office, and he's laying there with his paws crossed, looking at me, didn't make a sound. We feed all 3 dogs together. They're within a few feet of each other, and instead of gobbling down his food and then going to look for other, you know, more food, he eats his food at the same pace as the other dogs. But if it wasn't for Outstanding Canine and Ahmed's services that he provided, and the extraordinary training, Coco wouldn't be here. We'd had to give Coco up, plain and simple. He would have had to gone to the lab rescue, and they would have had to find somebody else to adopt him.